Hello everyone, welcome to SQL Depository and you are watching module number 5 of AWS CLI. In the last video, which is module number 4, we have already deployed the VPC, and in this module or in this video, we are going to use that VPC to deploy the subnet. So first let me go ahead and configure AWS. I've already given the access key ID and secret access key, so I don't have to provide it again. And the default region is gonna be EU Central 1, which is Frankfurt region. But in your case, if the VPC has been deployed in any other region, then you can change the default region here. Otherwise, you will have to use the region parameter in most of the AWS CLI commands. Okay, so I'm gonna run AWS EC2 describe VPCs, and if you have already seen my last video, then you must be aware of this command. You must be familiar with this command. I'm gonna query the vpc-id and the cidr-block. Okay, so let it display the output. Okay, so I have two VPCs and this is the one that we have created in my last video. So I'm gonna use this VPC to deploy the subnet. Now let me actually go ahead and clear the screen and run another command, which is AWS EC2 describe subnets. Okay, so it will list out all the subnets that I have in that particular region with all the properties of that subnet. This is lots of data. So I'm going to quit from here, and I've already written the commands. And you don't have to write these commands because you will find it in the description. So don't distract yourself when you are watching the video. You can copy the command from the description and then you can use that command in your environment. Okay. So let me paste it here. And actually I want to include one more property, which is cidr-block. Hit enter. And this time you can only see, okay, actually in the command I have done one mistake. So let me go ahead and paste it again. And when I was giving cidr-block, B should be in capital, but I've given B in small, that is why I've got the cidr-block as null. Okay, this time I'm getting the cidr-block as well. So you can see the VPC IDs are same for all the three subnets. However, the subnet ID and the cidr-block is different because this is part of the same VPC and this is not the one that we have created in the last video. Okay, so in this video we are going to use the other VPC which has no subnet right now to create a new subnet which we will use to deploy our virtual machine. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and cover few more parameters this time for you, like this one where I'm using max items parameter. Let me paste it here. And as you have already seen that I have three subnets, but when I will give max item to 1, it will only list out one subnet for me. If I'll change it to 2, it will list out 2 subnets. Okay, so this is another important parameter. And then there is another parameter. So let me actually go ahead and type the command describe-subnets, and the parameter is version. And if you'll use this parameter, then it will give the version of AWS CLI and Python and everything. So if you have any use of it, you can use it, but otherwise not so useful, and it doesn't make any sense to include the version parameter in every command, right? Okay, so what else I have? Okay, so this is again very important whenever you want to troubleshoot anything related to AWS CLI. Let me go ahead and run this command, and the new parameter that I'm discussing right now is -debug. So this is very important when you want to debug your AWS CLI command and it will give you lots of data, and then at the end you will find the output. Okay, so here if you look at the data, it is telling you everything, how exactly it is going to create the AWS CLI, the subnet using AWS CLI. And if you are getting any error or you have any problem, you can go through this data. It will tell you where exactly the problem is happening. So this is again very important parameter when you are debugging. Okay, so this is too much of data. So let me go ahead and clear the screen again. Okay, now I'm going to create the subnet. Okay, so here you can see I've given already the vpc-id that I want to use, and this is the cidr-block, and this is not exactly the same cidr-block that I've given for vpc. For vpc the subnet mask was 16, but here subnet mask is 28, which means I have masked masked 28 bits already out of 32 bits. Okay, and this is the reason. However, this is the default reason, so if I'll not use this parameter, this will also work fine. Okay, availability zone, I'm gonna use the availability zone which is EU Central 1A. You have 1B and 1C as well, but I am gonna use 1A. In the query I have given the subnet ID, which means when the subnet is created, display the subnet ID in the output. Then at the end I have another parameter which is tag specifications, and I'm using the tag. So tag is always in key value format. So the tag is zone and the value is 1A because I am deploying the subnet in EU Central 1A region. Okay, so let me go ahead and copy this command, paste it here, hit enter, and it should not take much time to create the subnet. And yeah, subnet is already created, and this is the subnet ID. And if you want to verify this, then you can go to AWS portal, and actually I'm already on the subnet page. So let me refresh it, and then this is the subnet that I've created just now. And if you want to match the subnet ID, this subnet ID is ending with 2DE, and this is the exactly same subnet ID that we have got in the output. So this is the subnet that has been created, but if you want to verify this using AWS CLI, then you can always go ahead and use AWS CLI command. So I'm going to use describe-subnets, and then I'm also going to use the filter parameter, which I have already discussed in the last video, but let me discuss it again. Actually, let me go ahead and open the documentation of describe-subnets, and there you will find what are the different filters you can use when you are running this command. Okay, so this filter option, and it has these many filters. You have availability zone. Based on availability zone, you can filter availability zone ID, or there are lots of things. So I will recommend you to go through this documentation completely, and most of the filters you will find common for most of the commands. So once you will go through this document for most of the filters, you don't have to go through the document again, but then there might be few new filters for other AWS CLI commands. So referring the documentation is always good. Okay, so I am using this filter which is on vpc-id. So let me come back to the command, and the parameter is filter, the name is vpc-id, and this is the value, and this is the exactly same vpc-id that I have used to create the subnet. Let me go ahead and hit enter, and you can also verify from here. There is a subnet that has been deployed on EU Central 1A region, and this is the cidr-block for that subnet, and this is the subnet ID, this is the vpc ID. So if you want to verify your subnet after creating using AWS CLI command, you can always use describe-subnets, and then you can use filter parameter to validate if your subnet has been created and it has been created correctly or not. Okay, so right now you have created a subnet which is a private subnet. So private subnet means whenever you will deploy any EC2 machine or any other service on that particular subnet, it will not assign a public IP to that EC2 machine or whatever service you are using by default. But yeah, manually you can always go ahead and change that setting. But if you want all your EC2 machines that are going to be deployed on this subnet to get the public IP automatically, so for that you will have to use another command. So let me actually go ahead and copy this command here. And again I'm saying you don't have to copy this. I will provide everything in the description, so you can copy the command from here. So here I'm okay, this is not the one. Actually I've copied the wrong command. This is the one which is modify subnet attribute. So let me go ahead and paste it here. Okay, so the command is modify subnet attribute. You will have to provide the subnet ID and then the parameter map public IP on launch, which means whenever you are launching any service on this subnet, assign a public IP to that service. If it is EC2 machine, then assign a public IP to the EC2 machine. Okay, so I will have to correct the subnet ID here. So for subnet ID, I can copy from here directly. And I will replace the subnet ID. Okay, before running, actually, I want you to see something here. So this is the subnet that we have created just now. And if I'll check the details, here in the detail, you can find all the property related to that subnet. So you can see the subnet ID, the ARN, it is available, the cidr-block and everything, right? And let me go back. Select that subnet again and edit subnet settings. And here you will see a checkbox. This is the checkbox which says enable auto assign public IP version 4 address. It is not selected right now. And I'm not gonna select this. Let me cancel it. And now let me go ahead and quit from here and copy the command and run the command here. So once it will complete, I will go back to the UI and then I will edit the subnet setting again. And this time you can see it is selected. So you have enabled the public IP for this subnet. So this subnet has become the public subnet. Okay. So this is pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video. In the next video, we will use this subnet. Before deploying a virtual machine, we will have to do few more things so that it will be accessible publicly. And for that, we will have to create the internet gateway, and then we will have to create the route using that internet gateway. So this is what we are going to do in our next module, which is module number 6, and then in module number 7 we will deploy a virtual machine on this subnet. Okay, so I will see you again in the next video. Thank you for watching this video.